Touch the leg and welcome to Tibet This Week, a weekly news on Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Central Tibetan Administration. Let's look at the headlines first. His Holiness the Dalai Lama graces oath-taking ceremony of Sikyong Penpa Tsering. CTA condoles demise of former U.S. Congressman Barney Frank. U.S. representatives introduce legislation to assure future of Tibet. Central Tibetan Administration Delegation attend U.S. Freedom 250 celebrations. Dharamshala hosts Tibetan Cultural Festival.
다 펜파스린 셰기와 랑누
강택 수교
강택 슈규
초선 방주게 담자 템보 수교 양나 현행 상마 수교
속손 방주기 담자 템포 슈규.
This Wednesday, His Holiness the Dalai Lama graced the oath-taking ceremony of Sikyong Penpa Tsering, who took the oath of office and secrecy as the Sikyong of the 17th Cabinet or the Kashak of the Central Tibetan Administration. Sikyong Penpa Tsering was re-elected for a second term after securing majority in the preliminary elections conducted in February 2026. Chief Justice Commissioner Yishi Wangmo administered the oath-taking ceremony. The ceremony was held in the courtyard of Thekjin Choling Temple in McLeodganj with the attendance of several guests from different countries, including members of parliaments and former ministers. Distinguished guests such as Chris Law, chair of All-Party Parliamentary Group for Tibet, Sujit Kumar, member of Rajya Sabha, Tapir Gao, member of Lok Sabha, 𝑻𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕, deputy from El Salvador, Jose Francisco Lira Alvarado, deputy from El Salvador, were also present along with the delegation from UK, including Kerry McCarthy, former government minister, Alexandra Martha Kearns, and Vera Hophouse, member of All-Party Parliamentary Group for Tibet, all of whom expressed their greeting and congratulated the Sikyong on the occasion. Sikyong, during his inaugural speech, promised that the 17 Kashak under his leadership will pursue political and social welfare initiatives with the primary goal of long-term sustainability of the Tibetan struggle until a just resolution of the Tibet-China conflict is achieved.
The 17th Kashak remains firmly committed to the middle way policy envisioned by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which seeks a resolution to the Sino-Tibet conflict through non-violence, dialogue, and mutual benefit that would be lasting. We shall uphold equitable justice founded on rules and regulations, harness collective effort through principled policy implementation, and move forward to achieve common goals. The Kashak will pursue political and social welfare initiatives with the primary goal of long-term sustainability of the Tibetan struggle until a just resolution of the Sino-Tibet conflict is achieved. At the same time, China has deliberately spread misinformation and propaganda to create division within exiled communities, including the Central Tibetan Administration, Tibetan organizations, and support groups, thereby weakening the unity of the Tibetan struggle movement. It is therefore essential for all to remain vigilant against such interference, particularly those engaged in the voluntary Tibet advocacy group and support groups for Tibet. They must strengthen their awareness, coordinate their efforts, and collectively raise issues of genocide and crimes against humanity at both international and national levels.
All dignitaries of the Central Tibetan Administration, present and past, representatives of major Tibetan civil society organizations, CTA staff members, students from nearby Tibetan schools, and members of the general Tibetan public attended the occasion in large numbers. That morning, the guests were granted a private audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama at his residence. They also met with the dignitaries of the Central Tibetan Administration to discuss future avenues and ways to support the Tibetan cause. Former U.S. Congressman Barney, a steadfast ally and true champion of the Tibetan people, passed away at the age of 86 in Maine, United States. Sikyong Tsering and Speaker 𝑘𝒆𝒕 extended condolence letters to 𝑗im, spouse of the late Congressman Barney. Sikyong expressed, quote-unquote, "We are deeply saddened to learn the passing of your spouse, Congressman Barney. On behalf of the Central Tibetan Administration and the Tibetan people, I extend our heartfelt condolences to you and your loved ones." Congressman Barney played a pivotal role in the resettlement of Tibetan refugees in the United States. He will be specially remembered for sponsoring the provision in the Immigration Act of 1990 that enabled 1,000 Tibetan refugees to build new lives and find a new home in the United States. Sikyong further stated that his unwavering support, commitment to human rights, and enduring friendship towards the Tibetan people will always be remembered with deep gratitude and respect. Last Monday, the outgoing ministers or the Kalans of the 16th Kashak or the cabinet were also granted the farewell audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. After the audience, as the last working day of their 5-year term as Kalans, the 16th Kashak held their final cabinet meeting at the cabinet secretariat. Sikyong Tsering presented a certificate of appreciation and a Tara Thangka painting signed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama to each of the Kalans. The Kalans of the 16th Kashak assumed their responsibilities on 10th November 2021. It was a historic cabinet with 3 female ministers along with the Sikyong. Sikyong Tsering will form the 17th Kashak or cabinet as soon as the 18th Tibetan Parliament in exile approved the ministers for his cabinet. The members of the 18th Tibetan Parliament in exile are also set to take oath of office this Sunday. On Monday this week, U.S. Congressmen Jim McGovern and Michael McCall introduced a new bipartisan legislation called Assuring the Future of Tibet Act of 2026. The bill aims to strengthen the United States' commitment to the aspirations of the Tibetan people for human rights and dignity. The legislation will empower the U.S. government to continue its engagement with the Central Tibetan Administration after the 14th Dalai Lama has passed. The congressman expressed that U.S. must support the Central Tibetan Administration as the legitimate, democratically elected representative of the Tibetan people. The legislation, if approved, will direct the United States government to advocate for the Central Tibetan Administration to be given observer status within the United Nations system and in relevant international bodies and groupings. Furthermore, it allows officials of the Central Tibetan Administration with appropriate senior levels of engagement and diplomatic courtesies by the U.S. government, possibly to include the extension of diplomatic security and privileges and immunities. The bill follows a series of bipartisan congressional initiatives on Tibet over the years. In recent decades, the U.S. Congress has passed several Tibet-related legislations aimed at supporting the Tibetan cause, more recently the Resolve Tibet Act. Last Sunday, the American Embassy in New Delhi celebrated Freedom 250 Independence Day in New Delhi on 24th May 2026. Sikyong Tsering of the Central Tibetan Administration, accompanied by Kalun Nonzidoma of Department of Information and International Relations and Representative Jigme of the Bureau of His Holiness the Dalai Lama in New Delhi, attended the reception in Delhi. The U.S. Secretary of State Honorable Marco Rubio, Indian External Affairs Minister Honorable Subramaniam Jaishankar, and U.S. Ambassador to India, His Excellency Sergio Gore, gave their remarks at the celebration. As part of the 90th birthday celebrations of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the Department of Information and International Relations of Central Tibetan Administration celebrated the Year of Compassion by organizing a 3-day Tibetan cultural festival at the police ground in Dharamshala yesterday. The festival was inaugurated by Sikyong Penpa of the Central Tibetan Administration. Shri Sudhir Sharma, member of Himachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly, also attended the inaugural. The cultural festival aims to introduce Tibetan culture and traditions to the local Indians and tourists by showcasing various Tibetan cultural performances, food stalls, film screenings and exhibitions. The organizers hope to develop more awareness and interaction among the Indians on Tibet and its rich culture.
This is the main event which connects with the local Indians, and it is also to celebrate His Holiness the 90th birthday, where His Holiness has been residing for the last 60 years in Dharamshala. So it is a kind of a platform to connect with the Indian people in Dharamshala. We expect that lots of local Indians will come and enjoy this celebration.
During the opening of the festival, Sikyong Penpa said that this festival in a way expresses Tibetan people's appreciation to the government and people of India and of Himachal Pradesh who have been instrumental in helping the Tibetans to resettle in India.
This is also an occasion for us to express our gratitude to the Government of India, to the Government of Himachal Pradesh and to all other states that have hosted the Tibetans in exile and have empowered us to carry forward our cause not just here but also internationally.
Chief Guest Shri Sudhir Sharma emphasized the need to organize more of this kind of festivals and also urged the Indians to take interest in learning the unique Tibetan culture and history. We also asked a few locals about how they feel of such a festival being organized in Dharamshala.
We used to go to Dalai Lama temple and वहाँ पे culture देख के हमें बहुत अच्छा लगता था. It used to be so peaceful out there. So this is the first time we are having exposure right next to our house in Dharamshala. So it was a great opportunity to, and हमने Tibetan medicine के बारे में especially बहुत ज़्यादा सुना था. So I was very excited to visit one of those checkups here.
मुझे ये टिबेटियन हैंडीक्राफ्ट वगैरह ये सब बहुत अच्छा लगा और मैंने यहाँ पे अपना पल्स चेक कराया और उन्होंने बिल्कुल ठीक डायग्नोज किया जो
We've just entered the ground. We're really liking the vibe of this entire festival. I've just come with an open mind, just looking at every stall which I can right now. And yeah, pretty much about it. That's
as much as I've lived here, I have never witnessed culture, food and festival and art coming alive here in Dharamshala. So that I think that's beautiful that it's happening, and I'm here to live that moment along with you all. So yeah.
That is all for this edition of Tibet This Week. See you all next week.